Hmm. Hello, everybody. Welcome and good morning. Hope everybody. It's been a while. It's been, I think, a month or so since I've done a live like this. I have been going live on TikTok quite a lot, um, but we're live here, and I think I'm live. I think I'm live on all my channels. We'll see if people still show up after a long absence. But welcome, welcome, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. Um, I think I'm live across YouTube. Let's see, edit channels. Yep, I'm on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and TikTok Live. So, good morning, everybody. I know, I know. I'm sorry. It has been a long time. Nice to see you. Very nice to see you. Oh, and my phone alarm has decided now's a good time to go off. Um, I'm glad it's a fun surprise. I know it has been forever. I was doing these like 3 times a week and um life just got complicated, friends. So, my friend Brienne, who I think will be on at some point this morning, has sort of she's like, I kind of miss your lives. I was like, oh yeah, I gotta do that again. Today I'm going to talk about multi-part soul. Hopefully it will be interesting to folks. Good morning, good morning. Nice to see you, my friend. Great to see you. How's everybody doing? How'd everybody hold up? Um, we had, of course, I had the holidays. I feel like that took a lot out of me. We've had snowy weather here. We've got snow right now. It's been cold. We're gonna get more snow this week. I've had some really really cold days here, but it's been uh, it's been good and it's been an adventure. And um, that's what's up. That's what's going on. I continue to practice and teach, and I need to get back into my community a little bit more. I got pulled out, just personal stuff, just lots and lots of personal stuff coming up, and I find we find strength in community. So I'm going to talk about the multi-part soul this morning. I hope that's interesting to folks. If it isn't, you can drop off. That's okay. It won't offend me, but I think it's interesting, and it has come up for me, and I'm a continuous learner. I'm a lifelong learner. I will never stop learning, particularly about shamanism. Short chunk, yeah, yeah, a lot packed into the last month. Yeah, it seems to be that way for quite a lot of people. Um, so I'm gonna talk about the multi-part soul, and what do I mean by that? What do I mean by the multi-part soul? So one of the things that is always interesting to me is to look at spirituality in a cross-cultural way and say, what do these people believe and do? And what do these people believe and do? And what do these people believe and do? And what do they have in common? What do these cultures that are, thousands of years apart and tens of thousands of miles, well, not tens, but thousands of miles apart, why do they have belief systems that have this great deal of overlap? And why is there is does that mean there's some truth to it, that there's some consensus to it? And so I'm going to explore that a little bit today, hopefully not just from a purely intellectual level, but to give you some things to think about in your own practice. And you do not have to believe. I'm not preaching belief or anything. I'm going to talk about what other people believe and have believed, but you can take away from that what you will. Um, but it's interesting to me to find. So one of my great interests at the moment is studying Norse shamanism and Scandinavian folk magic. It just feels a little bit like home to me, and so I've been diving into those practices and those studies. And one of the things has that has come up for me repeatedly is the ancient Norse model of the self or the soul. I mean, we call it like soul parts or the model of the soul or the multi-part soul. Um, and that would give the impression that it only contains things that we would consider spiritual. But it's important to remember that many ancient peoples, did not separate the physical from the spiritual. So the multi-part soul includes the body in many of these cases, or includes things that we don't necessarily think of directly as soul, things like the breath or the shadow that you cast on the ground. Um, so we see that with the ancient Norse, we see it with the ancient Egyptians, we even see it with some ancient Jewish mysticism and beliefs. We see it in theosophy, we see it in Hinduism. So all of these cultures spreading all around the world. And I don't know enough about indigenous cultures to talk about whether that's present there, but I intend to do some research to find some more commonalities. So thank you so much. It's nice to see you as well. Yeah, I was just talking about it's been a long time, and my friend Brienne, who hopefully will be on here at some point shortly, um, has been sort of like, so you gonna do a live sometime soon? Sure, sure. And I was like, all right, all right, all right, I'll do it. I'll do it. Um, so there are multi-part soul models. I don't have a better terminology for it. Maybe it's models of the self, multi-part models of the self that divide the self into various components or functions. Um, and the physical sort of comparison is, you have a body, and your body has, you point to your ear and say, this is a part of my body, but this is my ear, and it has sort of a different representation, and we can sort of take it out and look at it separately. I mean, don't take out my ear, but you can take it out and look at it separately. We can look at the systems in the body, right? We can look at the nervous system and the skeletal system, the digestive system, the endocrine system. We can look at systems in the body. They're not separate from the body. They all work together. And these models of the self are the same. They work together. They're integrated systems of systems. You think of yourself as a complex system of systems. And I'm going to lean heavily on the Norse model because it's the one I know the best. But if you know other models, certainly speak up and comment. The Egyptian model is incredibly complex, right? All of these. There's the Ka and the Ba and the shadow and the this and the that. Many, many complex parts in the Egyptian model. In the Theosophic model, they talk about bodies, right? And this is a model that's really useful. And all models suffer from two problems. Hey, I was just talking about you. I was like, I think you're going to join. I hope you're going to join because you were the one who's like, I miss your lives. And I was like, okay, I'm going to do a live. So this one's for you. This one is especially for you. Good morning to you as well, my friend. I miss you, and I hope that I get to see you in person sometime soon. I'll just say that. Um, And it's like we live in the same town, and I never, I hardly ever see my friend Brienne, but we should remedy that soon. We'll have to meet up somewhere or something. Anyway, uh, yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. Um, so I'm going to. It's here. I recently met an inner aspect that told me it's the polarity of my higher self. Interesting. Gotcha, gotcha. So, again, I'm going to lean pretty heavily on the Norse model because it's the one that I'm most familiar with. But that being said, there are lots of other models out there. Um, and I'll say like it's funny because the word like or leek in Old Norse actually means the physical body, and that is part of the self complex, the like. The like is the physical body, and that is not deemed as separate from the spirit. In the Western model, I guess, the Western Abrahamic model, like the soul and the body are separate things. Now, the body is temporary, right? This body is really temporary. It's not the same body I had 30 years ago, friends. I wish it were. I wish it were. Um, this body has gotten really good at things like putting on weight and growing gray hair in my beard. Um, but it's changed, and someday this body will die. But the part of me that's me, the part of me that's really me, not my ego, not the part of me that is just stories I have about myself, that part's not really going to survive. But the part of me that's me is going to survive, and I'll talk more about that. But one of the benefits of learning and practicing shamanism is if you go deep enough, you will confront your own death and become extremely comfortable with it. And I think that is a gift. Like I think uh, that's a gift that I have to say um, is huge. It's a huge spiritual gift to be given comfort to not be afraid of one's own death, to live in fear. That doesn't mean I don't do things to keep this body alive because, hey, how are you? Nice to see you. That doesn't mean I don't do things to keep this body alive. I'm using this body, it's useful. It's like my car is not who I am, but I do things to keep my car operating because I'm using it. I'm using this body to navigate this world right now. So I'm going to do stuff to keep it alive as long as reasonably possible. But that's different than living in existential fear of one's own death at all times. Yeah, yeah. I get it. I get it for sure. Um, so sorry, I lost my train of thought, which is really easy. I haven't finished my first cup of coffee yet this morning. Um, Somebody told me yesterday that there is a Mexican goddess associated with coffee. If that is true, I'm going to find out and I'm going to build an altar. There'll be an altar around the area on my counter where I keep all my coffee stuff. Um, I feel like I should worship at the altar of the goddess of coffee, if that is a thing. But I'm going to find out. I will definitely find out. Might be Santa Muerte. I doubt it though. I doubt it. Anyway, um, so in the Norse model and in the Egyptian model anyway, the body was considered part of the soul, part of the self, right? That's existing in this physical world. Apart from the body, there is the energy body. In the Theosophic model, this would be called the etheric body. This is our energy body. This is the thing, our aura, our meridians that they work on with acupuncture or acupressure. What people who do hands-on healing like Reiki are working on. They're working on the level of your energy body. This is a body that closely resembles your physical body. In the Norse model, this is called the Hammer, and the Hammer is uh, responsible for your physical form. Manipulating the Hammer is what we call, in one way, is one form of what we call shape shifting, right? Now, I don't know. I have never experienced physical shape shifting to be a reality. I believe that anything is possible, but I've never experienced it. But if you can change your energetic shape, right, your energy body shape, that will have an impression on people that you encounter. It'll have an impression on the way that you show up in the world, right? Working on your energy body. In witchcraft, this is called glamour magic, right? Where some you can change your energetic makeup to be more attractive or to be more influential or to appear to be more powerful or to speak with more authority. That's called glamour magic. It's I'm putting on an appearance, and part of that might be doing stuff to the physical body. We do stuff all the time. Some people wear makeup. I don't at the moment. Maybe I would rock some eyeliner. I don't know, but some people wear makeup, or they put on nicer clothes, or they wear cologne, or whatever. They do things physically to appear to others, to influence others to do things in a different way, right? We put on our sexy clothes when we want to feel sexy. It changes how we feel sometimes, which changes our energetic makeup. I had a I had a Buddhist teacher ages ago, back when I was in college, and one of the things he recommended was when you're going for a job interview. He was talking to a room full of guys, um, just happened to be. Actually, no, he wasn't. But he was talking about like when you go for a job interview, put on red silk boxers, or for the women, whatever the equivalent would be, like something that makes you feel differently. The person you're sitting across from can't see that, but it changes how you feel, which changes your energy body makeup, right? Which changes how the other person feels. Right. I mean, I'm assuming you're going for a job interview where somebody doesn't see you in your boxers. Maybe you are. That hasn't landed me too many jobs. um, but right, so we've got this energy body. The energy body is interpenetrated and interacts with our physical body in a very strong way. When we move our physical body, our energy body um, moves as well. Right? Tai Chi, all kinds of energy work moves and manipulates the energy body. We can also manipulate the energy body with thought, with emotion, with substances. When I drink coffee, it affects my energy body. When you smell certain things, it affects your energy body. Um, when you hold certain substances, it affects your energy body, which affects your physical body. People familiar with muscle testing, right? You can put something in the palm, and I've demonstrated. I demonstrate this often with thought. I had when I was doing martial arts training, was teaching martial arts. Have a student like, okay, hold your arms straight out and think something that you think of as a good thought. Hold that in your mind. Hold that in your mind, and don't let me push your arm down. And I would push and put all my weight on their arm, and I couldn't put it down. And then I'm like, now think something horrible. Think some terrible thought, right? And I could easily press their arm down. So it would change the strength. So the mind interacting with the energy, interacting with the musculature in the body could actually change their physical strength. Mindset training is so important in like sports and martial arts. Our elite athletes know this. Our military knows this. Our all kinds of you know. So this is the mind or the mental body interacting with the energy body, interacting with the physical body, and it's a fascinating thing that I've been able to demonstrate over and over again. And it's not really like, it's not hocus pocus. It's not, I'm not putting a spell on anybody. I'm just do try this, change your mindset, try this again, right? Um, so we have this sort of energy body that's recognized across different cultures, different spiritual traditions. The energy, what we consider energy, magical energy, psychic energy, just energy, in that exists in many different traditions, right? So in yogic traditions, you've got things like prana or kundalini, different types of energy, different types of s- spiritual, psychological, physical energy that runs through the energy body. In Taoism, you have qi. In the Japanese name for that is ki. In Polynesian culture, you have mana, which is the same thing. In Jewish mysticism, you have something called ruach. Now, this is often associated with the breath. In Norse tradition, this is called Megan, Megin, Megan. And there's different types of Megan, just like there's different types of chi and kundalini and prana. There's all these different types. There's types that are associated with the elements, types that are associated with heat or cold or whatever, right? There's earth energy, there's sky energy. It's just energy in different forms. It's sort of like we have, we can convert chemical energy to electrical energy. We can convert electrical energy into mechanical energy. We can convert mechanical energy into heat energy. So energy is energy, and it can be converted. And spiritual energy follows the same laws as physical energy, right? You can't create it or destroy it. All you can do is convert it from one form to another. So we're not actually, like, when we're doing things to pump ourselves up, to build up our spiritual energy, we're not creating energy. We're drawing energy in. We're surrounded. There's so much energy. We can't, like, there's science has had to come up with this idea of dark matter to explain that 90% of the universe is something we can't measure or see. We can only infer physical forces, but we can't observe it or see it. We don't know what it is. We can do some math and sort of try to figure out what it is, but it can't, as of now, we can't observe it. But there's energy everywhere, whether we can see it or not. And there's energy in everything, and it's constantly in a state of flux, being changed from one form to another, right? Um, so that is Megan. And then when we have breath that is imbued with energy in the Norse tradition, this is called Ond. Ond is the breath of Odin that gave life to the first man and the first woman, similar to the story in Genesis where God breathes life. Actually, there's two creation stories in Genesis, but in one of the creation stories, God breathes life into Adam and Eve. In the Norse creation story, Odin and Villian essentially give life and thinking to the two first humans, Ask and Embla, which they're made out of trees. Instead of being made out of clay and a rib, they're made out of trees, an ash tree and an elm tree. So we have Ask and Embla. Um, the breath of life. And so in yogic practice, that's where the prana comes from. And mana in Hawaii and other Polynesian cultures is closely associated with the breath. When you say when you a traditional greeting with a Hawaiian kahuna is you touch foreheads and you both say aloha. It's the out breath. You're exchanging breath. You say aloha. You're exchanging breath energy with this person. There's a very similar Inuit tradition. So if you look at Inuit throat singing or Inuit chanting, and you have two people, they're facing, I think they're even embracing each other, and they're rocking back and forth and chanting to each other, and they're chanting on the offbeats. So one person makes a sound, and then the other person makes a sound, and the other person makes a sound, and the other, and you're exchanging breath while you're doing that. And I don't know I don't know I don't have a complete understanding of the spiritual significance of that, but that is the point, is to exchange the breath. So breath, understandably, is associated with this energy. And we can do breathing exercises, we can do pranayama, we can do all kinds of breath exercises to pump up our energy, to draw energy in from around us, from the environment. We can also infuse our breath with energy and have it create magical effects around us. How do we do that? We do that by adding vibration. We do that through speaking, right? Or chanting or singing. And if you have studied singing before, you know that the body can be a great resonator. Like, you learn to resonate in your chest and in your what's called the mask, which is this area up here, this set of small bones around your nose and in your face. So it's not just I'm not just singing from my throat or speaking from my throat. I resonate from my chest and from my mask, and it creates this rich tone that has a psychological effect on the people around you when you sing properly or when you speak properly. Same thing when you intone, if you chant, or if you are doing invocation or evocation, or you are speaking to spirit, it can be very powerful to speak out loud as opposed to whispering. I don't know if you can even hear me when I whisper, but the difference between whispering and speech is when you whisper, you are not vibrating your vocal folds, right? So I'm just using air. I'm just using air, and I'm just, making my mouth move. If you've seen RFK speak, right? He almost comes off as if he's whispering. He has I forget what there's a reason, there's damage to his vocal folds or something. So he's not able to vibrate them properly. Um, there are some very powerful ways of using the body as a resonating chamber, imbuing the breath with power and intention, right? So we can imbue the breath with psychological intention to intone things. I could potentially do a whole whole teaching about that. Um, that's beyond the scope here today. So the breath, we have the physical body, we have the energy body, we have the life-giving, energy-filled breath. We have energy, right? Megan or chi, what have kundalini, what have you. And then we have the breath filled with power, the ruach, or in Old Norse, the ond, the breath of life, Odin's breath of life. Um, Apart from that, there are so the Theosophical model again is going to use the term bodies. They're going to talk about having different bodies. So a you have a consciousness, right? And the consciousness is carried in what they call the astral body. Most people have heard of astral projection or whatever. The astral body is more subtle than the energy body, meaning it is less connected to the gross nature of the physical body, right? The astral body can depart the physical body. Your energy body can't leave your physical body without you dying. But don't worry about it. It's not going to happen until you die. When you die, the energy body dissipates, but and it might actually, depending on how you die, this is where some hauntings happen. The energy body makes an impression, makes an informational impression on the space that you're in. That's not all hauntings, that's some hauntings. What they call these residual hauntings, where people will walk into a room and they see like figures that are repeating the same actions over and over again. It's like a recording, it's like cutting a groove in a record. That happens sometimes when the energy body dissipates. Good morning, good morning, nice to see you. Yeah, I haven't been live in a long time. I mean, I've been going live on TikTok, by the way, quite a lot because it's easy. I just set my phone down and I click go live, and there's not a lot of setup. And I've been getting a lot of traction being live on TikTok that I have not, that I might have a really, really popular live here might be 20 people. A really, really popular live for me on TikTok might be 4,000 people. So, sort of trying to do all things at once and reaching as many people as I can, kind of thing. Um, when you die, the energy body disperses. It's not necessary anymore. It's not, not powering your body or anything like that. Um, your soul body or your astral body is not tied down anymore. You wonder if Tesla was aware of the energy around us. Oh, Tesla was definitely aware of the energy around us. Yeah, yeah. Energy, frequency, vibration, for sure. Um, Energy, frequency, vibration. So you have a soul body, also known as the astral body, and the closest I can think of in the Norse model is something called So the energy body in the Norse model is called the Hammer. Um, you have something called the Hugr. The Hugr is the consciousness. It's associated with thought. It's strongly mental. It is not a perfect alignment with the astral body, but it is what it is. Hello, hello. Nice to see you as well. Oh, you switched from TikTok. Okay, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you. Thank you for switching. Thanks for coming over. Um, so the so the energy body and all these different models. Um, and so you have um, this sort of mental body, this sort of consciousness. This consciousness can separate out, can split apart. It carries your life experiences. It carries your consciousness. So shamans practice separating their consciousness from their body and traveling in alternate realities and alternate worlds, working with spirits. Spirits exist on all different levels. So some spirits might have you are a spirit that has a physical representation. You are a spirit. You have a physical body, right? That's an important distinction. You are a spiritual being. You're having a human experience at this moment. Next time around, who knows? Maybe you'll become a tree next time around, but you're having a human experience. And what migrates after death, or what migrates during astral travel or soul travel or shamanic journeying, is what's called the astral or the soul body. This somewhat equates to two components in the Norse model, which are the Hugr and the Mini. The Hugr is the intellect, the consciousness, and the Mini is memory. They just separate those out. Again, all models suffer from two things. A model is just a representation of something. And we deal with a lot of models. So even a word is a model of something. When I say, or as a symbol, it's a pointer to the thing, but it's not the thing. The model is not the thing. The map is not the territory. The word is not, if I say dog, you might have a picture of your dog or someone else's dog. I might be thinking about my dog, but we can have a common understanding of dog, but it's the word dog doesn't encompass that everything that is dogness, right? It doesn't encompass um fur and licking your face and eating bones and all the things we associate with dogs. It's just a pointer. The same is true of all models. So if I have a model car, even if it's a really detailed one, it's not a car, right? It's a small little model. It will suffer from two things. All models delete and distort information. Why? Because I can't have a model car that's like this big and like get in there somehow and change the radio dial and have it work, or have a working engine in there, or have a catalytic converter, or it will delete information necessarily. So if I look at a map, right, even on like a really good GPS map, right, it's not going to have every house, every tree, every right. It's going to delete information because it's not necessary. I just need to know where the streets are. I need to know where to turn. I need to know where the parking garage is. So it deletes information. Every model also distorts information necessarily. So we need to understand that. So a model is not a thing. No model is perfect. All models have deletion and distortion. All models are useful in the right context, right? So my GPS map is really useful if I want to drive to a friend's house I've never been to before. It is not useful if I want to know the height of a local mountain. For the height of a local mountain, I need a topographical map. I need a different model for that. Out of context, but if I want directions to my friend's house, the topographical map is probably not going to be the best tool for that job. All models are useful in the right context. When we take the model out of context and try to apply it doesn't serve us well, then very often we'll say this is a bad model. And that's just not true. It's just that we're using it for the wrong tool. It's like the old saying, if the only tool I have is a hammer, every problem looks like a nail. Very often, if we are bumping our heads up against something and can't figure out how to solve a problem, we might be approaching it with the wrong model, with the wrong paradigm, with the wrong set of tools. We can change the paradigm, we can change the tool, we can change the model. And having this is why I like looking at things multiculturally, because there may be, so I'm like, okay, from a soul journey perspective, I couldn't find a really good um, way to describe that using the Norse model. Now, maybe there is one, but I couldn't find that. But using the Theosophical model, that makes sense to me, like how this works. And maybe how things work isn't all that important. But that's my brain. Like I want to know how, like I want at least somewhat logical explanation for how things are working. So you have this part, so you have this soul body, and that is a part that has your consciousness. Your consciousness can be split apart. Your consciousness is non-local. The soul body is more subtle than the energy body. It is less tied to physical reality, right? It can still be affected by physical reality in some ways, but not very much. Your consciousness can penetrate walls, can travel through space, can go to other planets, can what have you. Um, are there ways to block people's consciousness from spying on us? There are. It's complicated. It's probably not worth the effort unless you're trying to hide something significantly, but there are ways to do that. You can read stuff about remote viewers, the government spies that they have. Our government, if people don't know what remote viewing is, the US government and many other governments have psychic spies. They have programs. They're many of them are publicly known now because of, Freedom of Information Act and stuff. But our government uses people who can project their consciousness into other locations to spy. They've had this program for decades. So have the Russians. I'm guessing the Chinese and Israelis do as well. In fact, I know the Israelis do. Um, and so these people are able to project their consciousness and get information about targets that are not available to spy satellites or, that sort of thing. And they can do it with incredible accuracy. There are challenges, there are limits, but these remote viewers report that in some places, under some circumstances, people are aware that their consciousness is there and can actually try to prevent them from doing things. So there you have it. Consciousness is non-local. Our government knows about it. Other governments know about it. Mainstream science has an issue with it, but it's a it's there's a lot of research out there showing these effects. So um, whatever, but your consciousness can separate from your body. Now we generally organize our consciousness around our body. We think this is it. We have an ego. We think we're somewhat limited here. This is where you point to where's your spirit? Oh, it's here. We'll point inward, right? Where's your soul? Your soul body. Oh, it's here. It's inside me. And when I die, my soul, and generally that's the case. Like generally we organize our consciousness around our bodies. But there are people who don't, people who practice shamanism, people who meditate for extremely long periods of time. There's practice in Tibetan Buddhism, probably in other forms of Buddhism, where one builds up the um, builds up the soul body enough that it becomes what's called a rainbow body, which it can actually become visible to people in the physical world. Like that to me is crazy, but um, and when they perfect that, they just consciously drop their body. The body just dies in a state of meditation because they don't need it anymore. They discard it. They've done what they needed to do, and they consciously discard the body. And so the body is deceased, but it, the person is not considered dead, right? in the same way that we would think like they have ceased to be. They exist in a different form. Um, and it takes decades of dedicated practice to do this, but there's Tibetan practice for this. There are also Japanese Buddhist practices where one becomes sort of self-mummified. So the body eventually stops functioning, but like people are meditating for years, and their body starts shutting down more and more to the point where you actually don't quite know where it's dead or alive. I guess if you had sensitive enough equipment, you could tell the exact moment at which the heart stops beating and stuff like that. But there are practices to discard the body consciously, but that is not considered death by these cultures. It's just dropping away the shell that has sort of tied them down for a period of time. But there are lots and lots of practices for soul travel. Shamanic journeying is one of those. And what's journeying is your astral body. So underneath that is your divine spark. Um, in shamanism, we would refer to this as the uh, the spirit. This is your actual spirit. This is extremely powerful, but also extremely subtle. It is really like you might meditate on it and locate it maybe inside your heart center or something like that. But giving it a location really doesn't make much sense. It is it's boundless. It's pure divinity. It's your ray of light that you trace back to your own divinity. It is your Atman, in Sanskrit known as the Atman. Your That's your soul, right? Your divine self. And so there's different terms for that in different languages. In ancient the Essenes called this the Nafesh, but this is also known maybe as the causal body in the Theosophical model. It is so beyond physicality that it is outside of time and space, really. We can access it, meaning like my ego parts and my soul, like I can reach back and sort of touch it and experience it. And this is what I teach in meditation. I teach how to access these parts in meditation because we can have a daily regular experience of that divine aspect of ourselves. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. And we can walk back and remember who we are experientially, who we are for real, right? And again, it can be useful to visualize that as like a bright light in the center of your chest, but giving it a location, again, that's a model, it's a pointer, it's a symbol. It doesn't have location, it's outside of time and space. It's not born and it doesn't die. It has always been and will always be because it's divinity. It's pure, it's your God nature. Um, it's incredibly powerful because it contains the entire universe, right? Because it's locationless, it's dimensionless. You can't like imagining it separating from your body is not really a use again is not really a truthful model either because it's beyond your body and it's beyond your soul body, it's beyond your energy body. But if we could picture it as a little spark of infinitely bright white light in the center of our chest, that can be useful sometimes in doing meditative practices to sort of reach back and touch upon that part of ourselves. So chakras are really cool and interesting aspects. I don't even know how to describe chakras really. Things. um, so your chakras appear like the way that we access them mostly is through the energy body, right? And they exist in the level of the energy body. If you can see aura and you can see chakras, you can feel I can teach people how to feel chakras in about 10 minutes. You can feel chakras. You can, we know where they are. There's maps of them. They're connected. We know the energy body, but they're much more than that. And there are interfaces to the rest of us. So we can interface with other they're like elevators, I guess, or highways or something. I don't know. I can't think of a really great metaphor for chakras. And we can use them for different purposes. We can use them to raise our consciousness up. We can use them to heal ourselves, to do energy body work, to do manifestation work, to connect, to ground ourselves. Chakras are very useful tools. Tools, that's a good way to put it. And they are multidimensional, but the easiest way probably for us to experience them is to experience them at the level of the energy body. They exist also in the soul body. They can, like, you can access them in the soul body. So there's not something I would teach in a public forum like this, but there are practices of shape shifting that happen at the level of the soul body, that involve the chakras. And I did an initiation one time. Was initiated one time in which your the initiation's called the little death, and I know that's another word for an orgasm. It's not that. It's called the little death, and you are laying out flat on a thing, and you the practitioners come along and they shut down all of your chakras. They close them down. And it's I think it's about the closest you can get to spiritual death. Like you really leave your body at that point. So they shut all your chakras down so that you're not really connected to your body in a strong way. And then they reach in and lift you out of your body. And I got to tell you, that's a hell of an experience. Is one of the ways in which in shamanic initiation, shamanic training, in which you experience your own death, which I've done over and over, not this particular initiation, but many initiations. Initiations are always little deaths, a little death and a little rebirth. That one was a really powerful one. That one was a major experience in my shamanic training. I've had others, but that was a big one. So by earth chakra, you mean the one beneath your feet, or you mean your root chakra? Ah, okay, yeah, your sense of smell was heightened. Yeah, yeah, it can change your senses as well. So shape shifting will do that too. If you shapeshift into an animal, so I'll tell you kind of a funny story. So in my very early shamanic training during my apprenticeship, one of the things we would do, this isn't particularly what I would consider shapeshifting, but we would merge with our power animal. Mine happens to be a predator. Um, my main power animal is a predator. Not all my I have many power animals, but my main power animal is a predator. You would merge with your power animal, so you become one with your power animal, and then you move about the space in which there are other people merged with their power animals. My power animal has a very powerful sense of smell, and the other people in the room smelled like food to me. Oh, beneath the feet. Yep. Yep. Many people are blocked in the area of the lower chakras. I'll talk about that a little bit. Um, Particularly that one, most people don't know it exists. Um, but many people are blocked in the root and sacral chakras because we hold a lot of particularly in this culture, we hold a lot of shame in that area. So anyway, I'm merged with my power animal. I'm moving around the room in ways that I can't move if I'm not merged with my power animal, like physically, ways I can't move. And my sense of smell gets better. And I notice the people around me who are prey animals smell like food. Like I'm getting hungry smelling, and I can smell people from like across the room. And really hard to describe, really hard to describe. Also affected my eyesight and hearing, and it's a very interesting thing. There's great research on animal telepathy, and there's decades, 50 years at least, of research on animal telepathy. There's great studies on animals being able to tell when they are being stared at, right? So If you're a hunter or know anybody who's a hunter, if you go out and you see something that you're hunting and you stare at it, it can tell you're there, whether it can see you, smell you, or not. And that has been proven out. And human beings have the same sense. We all have had that thing like where we have the hair on the neck, back of our neck, stand on end, and we turn around and there's somebody staring at us behind us. That effect has been studied. We don't know why that is the case. We know that it is an effect that can be measured. It's pretty interesting stuff, but very cool research too. Yeah, yeah. So let me talk about your root and sacral chakras for a minute. So your root chakra is a chakra that is at your perineum. So that is between your, pardon my French, not speak French, between your genitals and anus. That is where your root chakra is. That is also a very important acupuncture point. I've never gotten acupuncture there. I don't know how that I don't know how that would feel, but I've never gotten acupuncture there. But it's a very important acupuncture point. There is the head of one of the major vessels in the body. But many of us experience disconnection from this, and it is responsible for things like our abundance and our groundedness and all of that sort of thing. We carry a lot of shame in this area because things like um, and the sacral chakra is above that. It is about at the level of the top of your pubic bone, whether you're a male or female, same place. Um, uh, and a lot of people experience a lot of blockage there. We are blocked when it comes to our sexuality. We are blocked when it comes to our groundedness. We are blocked when it comes to um, our abundance. We are blocked when it comes to having our physical needs met. So, and because particularly in Western culture, there is a lot of shame associated with the body parts that these are close to, but also shame associated with things like elimination and sexuality. And it's really unhealthy, and we have a shame complex that runs deep and thousands of years long that comes from patriarchal control. If you can control people at their very base level, you have control over them. You have control over life and death at that point. You have control over their physicality. These are the most, the higher we go in the chakras, the less physical they are, right? So like our crown chakra is very is much more subtle. These are very physical. You can do certain exercises as well to unblock your root chakra. There's pranayama that involves, you know, um, contracting the muscles of the pelvic floor. So, like Kegels, like doing Kegels with breathing exercises. You can massage or get massage in that area. I know people like, I'm not letting somebody massage my taint. Uh, it would obviously have to be somebody that you're comfortable with doing something like that. But if you feel blocked there, do some pranayama, do some self massage, or have somebody you really trust and are intimate with do some work in that area, particularly some energy work. Um, if you go to a professional masseuse or energy healer or stuff, they most likely won't touch you in that area because of its nature and sensitivity in the anatomy. And most people wouldn't want a stranger uh, doing that anyway. But it's a little bit unfortunate because there's powerful healing that can be had there, particularly physical healing. So, hello, hello, good morning to you. Nice to see you. And then the same is true for our sexuality. This is what essentially a lot of tantra tries to do. In the West, tantra has sort of meant like you know, places a lot of emphasis on the sexual aspects and the sexual pleasure aspects, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's just that's not the entirety of tantra. It's all about energy work and raising the kundalini and transforming that blocked energy into something that is health giving and that sort of thing. So if we're incredibly blocked, and we are in this culture in general, there's so much, like, look at the shame complex we have around sex and elimination. Look at the shame we have about our bodies. That stuff is incredibly unhealthy. Yep, you can use crystal toys, massage tools. Yep, to release that area. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Um, I can't talk in too much detail about other methods for releasing that area, but they're important. It's important, and most people are blocked there, and it takes us away from things like our abundance and getting our needs met, unfortunately. Um, but almost everyone I've encountered that I've done energy work for, and I don't do a tremendous amount of hands-on energy work. I do it sort of remotely, shamanically, um, has blockages in lower chakras, sometimes even going up to like solar plexus, heart chakra for sure. A lot of people have blockages in their throat. A lot of people who don't feel like they have a voice or like can't speak their needs, that sort of thing, and those things are kind of tied together as well. So, anyway, that was my little diatribe about the root and sacral chakra. Um, Release the beast, let your freak flag fly is all I can say. Get out there and experience things in a safe and consensual way. Um, be safe, be consensual, experience your sexuality fully, experience having your physical, emotional needs met, um, and these things will start to become unblocked for you. But yes, you can definitely use crystal toys and massage tools to unblock those areas as well. Or get energy healing from somebody who isn't necessarily going to place their hands on those parts, but they can, in the general area. Somebody who practices tantric massage definitely is going to touch those parts of you. Um, and we're like, oh, anything that's sort of in that area is taboo, and that's part of the shame complex that we hold on to, unfortunately. Anyway, I'm getting very close to having to wrap for the day. I hope this has been informational. I do want to, before I go, I'm going to talk about something that I thought was really cool that came up in something I was reading yesterday. Um, and so there's this idea in from yoga. There are these concepts of the oversoul or Brahman, and then the individual divine soul or the Atman, right? So your Atman is your divine self, and the Brahman is the divine self of the universe. And giving them different names makes us think that they're separate things. And it was really cool. I was reading something about this yesterday, and there was a picture, and it was like a sunset, and there was a sun in the sky, and then there was a sun reflected in a body of water, like a lake. And there was an arrow pointing at the sun, and it said Brahman. And there was an arrow pointing at the reflection of the sun in the lake that said Atman. And there was this like moment, and I was like, oh, okay, in this way, Atman is a projection of Brahman, and this is what I've been saying for a while. We are a projection of the divine. Our souls are projection. Our spirits are projection. Even our physical body is a projection of the divine. The universe itself is projecting us outward. We're a reflection, but that also means that we're carrying the same light, that we're the same thing. We're not separate. You can't separate us. If you were to put something in between, we would disappear. If you were to separate us from our divinity, we wouldn't exist. If one chakra is blocked, they're all affected one way or another, for sure. Yep, even a little self work helps a lot. Absolutely. Absolutely. For sure. 100%. I agree with that. I totally agree with that. All right, everyone. I have got to run. It has been great talking to everyone. Thank you, everyone, for coming on. Thank you for your contributions, your comments. If you've liked this, thank you for liking this. I can't see likes on here. But thank you for all of that. Thank you for joining in. We've got people on YouTube and people on Facebook and people on Twitch. I think people on TikTok. It's not showing me the numbers from TikTok, but I hope everybody is doing well. I will do my best to get back to doing these on a more regular basis. And I got to get a haircut. Look at that. Crazy. My hair's out of control. Um, Thank you. Thank you, my friend. This was all for you. I'm glad it was a great surprise. This was all for you, so thank you. You were the one who, you're so welcome. So welcome. So welcome. My love to all of you, and I mean that. You all deserve more love, not less. Let's be the love we want to see in the world.